In a move that would never surprise me at this point, TMZ and other tabloids and some legacy media are trying to paint Justin Baldoni in a negative light based on a recording related to a case he's not involved in. The timing of this is as transparent as ever. It came out on a Friday with the news cycle to also coincide with Blake Lively's sanctions motion against Justin's attorney, his lead attorney, Brian Friedman, being denied by the federal judge. But the news of the denied sanctions are, of course, being drowned out by the PR push surrounding a recording of Jed Wallace, who worked with Justin Baldoni's former crisis PR team. This ridiculous TMZ post says, "The crisis PR team who brought you Justin Baldoni." If anything, it's the other way around. The crisis PR team was put on the map and got more publicity because of their association with him, not the other way around. If you remember from Justin Baldoni's deposition, it was made clear that he was not happy about his crisis PR being made public in a way that made him seem guilty of something, because people use crisis PR all the time while having a crisis. We also had this ridiculous headline come out towards the end of the week. Blake Lively defends jury trial request in Justin Baldoni case as May trial date looms. Blake Lively's attorneys wrote a letter to a judge asking him to consider a new decision made by the appeals court in a different case. This is a normal thing to do, and the headlines of these media outlets are stupid. It's normal for the defendant to have filed a summary judgment motion or a motion to dismiss of some kind. Blake Lively did it when she wanted to have Justin's case dismissed, and these media outlets all painted her motion to dismiss in a very different light. That should tell you a little bit something about the types of PR spin happening here. The same standard procedural issues in court are being pushed by the media in completely different lights. And when Blake does it, they act like it's some sort of valiant Amazonian warrior move. But when Wayfarer does it, they act like they're trying to wrongfully deprive their sweet princess of a jury trial. It is 100% clear that the media is biased and which direction they're biased in. But back to the issue of this new recording. The recording is an audio of Jed Wallace, who Blake Lively has painted out to be a shadow Jedi master of bot campaigns. Jed Wallace has obviously denied this. He's been dismissed as a defendant twice in her case. But the recording of Jed Wallace we're about to listen to actually has nothing to do with Blake Lively at all. It's just being painted as a win for her somehow in a lot of spaces. I do think Jed Wallace is probably more of a string puller than a lot of people want to believe, but I don't know enough about the guy to say, too much about him. This new recording of him paints him in a very different light. This recording of Jed Wallace, as you can probably tell from the picture here, is related to this case between Rebel Wilson and Amanda Ghost. Amanda Ghost has accused Rebel Wilson and her crisis PR team, TAG, led by Melissa Nathan, of launching defamatory smear websites about Amanda Ghost. This recording is being highly publicized as evidence that they were trying to destroy Amanda Ghost's character by accusing her of being some kind of madam without evidence. Well, I'll just let you listen to it and then we'll move on.
Oh, also, talked about Rebel. Like, here's the deal with Rebel, and I think you, me, and Brian, and maybe Katie, since she'll write this thing. What we have to do is the biggest piece here is that we have to connect Amanda Ghost with Vlotnik. And I was just like, so basically what we need to do is we need to create a path where we expose Amanda Ghost as like the new Heidi Fleiss. Like she masquerades as the reason why she sucks so bad at music is because she's actually getting hookers for Vlotnik, right? And that's what she does. She's an absolute madam, and that's why she's so lethal, blah, blah, blah. But he's right. Like, we can't just do like, oh, she's a bitch, she sucks. It's like, it's gotta be really, really heavy and connected to something that heavy. So we'll talk about that tomorrow too.
So this video is not going to do a whole dive into the Wilson and Ghost case because that's something I'll be doing separately. I mostly want to talk about why that recording is being framed as some sort of positive for Blake Lively when it actually, in my opinion, is not. I know little about Rebel Wilson, and I know next to nothing about Amanda Ghost. That said, I'm certainly not going to come out here and say she's a madam. I think that's insane. You should never say something like that without doing your research first, no matter who you heard it from. And after the little research I've had time to do on the Wilson case, I am starting to feel that TAG PR and Jed Wallace were pulling this shit out of thin air. And they may be pretty shady people, at least in their professional dealings, because I know nothing about these people personally. Unless they can prove they had a reasonable basis to believe what they were saying on this smear website, this is going to be a problem. I have not yet seen any evidence that they had a good faith basis to make those accusations, but do bear in mind that I haven't read all the documents in that case, so I would encourage everyone to independently verify and form your own opinions. And I'll, of course, give updates as I'm able to continue reading documents from that case. But people who think this audio recording from the Wilson and Ghost case is a win for Blake Lively are overlooking a lot. So look at this website they allegedly made about Amanda Ghost, which can be found in the Internet Archives now. They make these insane statements about her being the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell. Also, AmandaGhostSucks.com. Are we in the 4th grade? Brought to you by the same people who allegedly did Stephanie Jones Sucks. This is all getting a little bit derivative and uninspired, don't you think? But the problem with people trying to claim some kind of victimhood solidarity for Blake Lively over this is that there's nothing of this nature in the Baldoni case at all. The ultimately damning point for Blake is that the things said about Blake Lively were either verifiably true or they were like reasonable matters of opinion based on people's experience with her. If she's allowed to launch an all-out attack against people in the press, then they should be allowed to defend themselves. The website in question in the Lively case that she's complained about is this one. This website contains nothing except for 2 legal documents, which allowed Wayfair to make their legal claims more publicly accessible. Blake Lively conspired with the New York Times for months to put out a total hit piece on the Wayfair parties. She and her husband, Ryan Reynolds, have the connections and the Hollywood star power to completely control the mainstream media. They tried to shatter the reputations of Justin and the rest of the Wayfair parties. But there's been plenty that's come out in discovery to show that Wayfair explicitly did not want to do anything like what was done in the Ghost case. They explicitly declined these types of services. The fact that they hired a crisis PR team based on a recommendation is not evidence of a crime, nor should it be viewed that way. But this website, which publicizes their legal claims, much as Blake Lively publicized hers, is not a slanderous attack on her. It's not falsely accusing her of being a madam. So from where I'm standing, Amanda Ghost and others who were allegedly slandered by Tag PR, like accusers of the recently convicted Alexander brothers, may have actually been smeared by these crisis PR firms. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like they may have been. But Blake Lively being forced to confront her own bad behavior or poor decisions is not the same. I think another thing people sometimes fail to recognize is that these PR people are, like, specifically these PR people are being scrutinized because of these high-profile clients and cases. But a lot of this is how the industry generally works. People in Hollywood play dirty with PR. To suggest other PR or crisis PR firms aren't doing this type of thing for Blake Lively or any other high-profile celebrity in or out of Hollywood seems naive to me. I'm not saying all PR agencies or reps are like this. I'm saying a lot of the ones who work for the major players are. The crisis PR firm that's coming under scrutiny here is the agency group, or TAG, which is run by Melissa Nathan, and then Jed Wallace, who works with them, but he has his own business. I want to note to my knowledge that, like, Jen Abel, who is Justin Baldoni's regular publicist, is not involved in these crazy scandals involving like smear websites or Amanda Ghost. Jen is involved in a lawsuit with her former employer, Stephanie Jones. So that's not really within the scope of this video. This is strictly about the crisis PR people who are involved in both or multiple legal cases. And we're not going to get into the Stephanie Jones case and the Stephanie Jones Sucks website this time because I just want to talk about this recording and why people are taking a victory lap over this when it doesn't belong. So the public is not used to seeing behind the curtain this way, and Blake Lively's taking advantage of that. She's showing the types of planning and strategies PR people do behind the scenes, and it's surprising to a lot of people. It makes them feel uncomfortable because no one wants to be manipulated by PR. It's opening a lot of people's eyes to the kinds of things that these guys can do, the way that they can shut things down, and the way they can get things boosted and put out there so that everybody's talking about it. It's shocking to some people to see those kinds of things, and that distracts from the fact these accusations that she's making against these PR people and putting this stuff out into the public distract from the fact that Blake Lively actually did, in fact, do the things that people were upset with her for doing. We've seen the power and control she had over the film, It Ends With Us, and the marketing of the film. She had the power to get her own edit and have her cut of the film used regardless of the bake-off results between hers and Justin's cut. She had the power to have the director and the studio representatives sent to a basement for the premiere. And she certainly had the power to put her foot down and respond to public criticism by saying, you know what, People are feeling really passionate about this. I think we should change up our strategy here and make sure we're doing the domestic violence themes of this movie justice. They used her husband's marketing agency, and she had everyone believing the backlash was somehow Justin Baldoni's fault. Even when she knows people are upset about the things that she's done, she blames someone else. So when people look at these PR documents and say Blake Lively fell victim to a smear campaign and that everyone who doesn't like her is a bot, it totally misses the mark. All celebrities who use PR have people who can manipulate social media and algorithms. They all use bots. Yes, your favorite celebrities have a whole bunch of bot followers to boost their already high public profiles. Even if bots were used in a lot of these PR wars, it's not a unique thing. But when you look at people using their real names and faces online who are offering their genuine criticisms and opinions on the kind of stuff that Blake Lively was getting backlash on, and you intentionally ignore that so you can pretend you're a victim of a bot campaign, that's only going to make things exponentially worse. There are bots everywhere, no doubt. Some of them favor Blake and some of them favor Justin, but it's the inability to accept obviously genuine criticism that will prevent Blake Lively from making any headway with the claims of a bot campaign. Sometimes this wild internet fandom and cancel culture, it can get overwhelming, I'm sure. It has absolutely taken a life of its own, where internet sleuths dig up old videos and interviews, and there's a renewed interest in the content that can lead to a lot of criticism. But you have to kind of decide if you want to address the issues and take accountability, or if you want to say, no, fuck it. That was forever ago. People change. I apologized years ago and I'm moving on. Sometimes people online will do or say stuff, related to public figures that seems unfair or possibly even untrue. But again, these celebrities, they have control over how they respond to that. I actually do respect it when people are getting a lot of random hate online and they're just like, no, fuck that. That's ridiculous. I'm not even going to entertain this. And they move on about their business. I was actually defending Blake in the beginning because I was like, why is everyone making such a big deal about this stuff that happened years and years ago? And that stuff blows over so quickly, especially these days where there's so many new things going viral every day. But then Blake Lively did the one thing that would ensure that it absolutely would not blow over. She worked for months to blow up her petty personal beef into a massive public attack. And in trying to paint the criticism of the very real things she did as a smear campaign, she has tried to trick people into thinking she was a victim of vicious lies. She never acknowledged that, yes, she actually did and said the things that people saw and heard in videos of her. She instead tried to blame someone else for people's reactions to that behavior. And that screams entitlement. It reeks of someone who's never really had to take accountability or accept consequences for anything in their entire life. And that is why people have such a strong reaction to her. That is what ultimately led me to look more into her claims and determine that she was not entirely truthful. It wasn't an old interview or the marketing of her hair care line. It was her very public and unnecessarily pointing the finger and trying to ruin someone else's life rather than dealing with her own issues. And the fact that I went through all of the federal court documents and formed my opinions in real time, and she then tried to subpoena my YouTube or Google account, kind of speaks to that entitlement. I couldn't possibly just not like her. That couldn't be it. I must have been paid by Justin Baldoni. And she went so far as to send a legal demand for my bank account and credit card numbers, even though there's documented evidence of me coming to my conclusions on my own. And that is how entitled and out of touch this person is. But circling back to Tag PR, Jed Wallace, and this audio in the ghost case, people will look at work they've done for Rebel Wilson or other clients and try to somehow draw negative conclusions about Justin Baldoni. Not every client of the PR firm who represents someone else you don't like is going to be evil themselves. Just like defense attorneys, they sometimes represent some pretty awful characters, but not all of their clients are the same. Not all of their clients are like vile, evil scum just because they have previously represented or will go on to represent some very unpopular and unlikable clients. Even looking at the PR firms themselves, or like Brian Friedman, who is also involved in the Rebel Wilson case, finding a good lawyer or a good PR person, it's not about finding a best buddy who's going to take you on picnics. If it were about hiring only good people who hold hands and dance to Barney songs and only care about everything nice in the world, then I don't think Blake Lively would have hired former CIA official Nick Shapiro to run her crisis PR. Probably wouldn't have chosen someone who helps wealthy corporations cover up crimes, even violent crimes involving victims. None of these crisis PR people are like squeaky clean characters. Tag PR is just getting a disproportionate amount of attention because people are pointing the finger at them, whereas no one has launched a war against Blake Lively's crisis PR person in this case. And given how under the radar the crisis PR people usually fly, I don't expect people who hire them to know everything about all of their other clients and everything they've ever done behind the scenes. If we want to talk about the issues with like what PR people do and how the public gets manipulated online, that's one thing, but it's a whole entire issue involving a lot of people and the industry as a whole. Right now, we're just seeing a lot of finger pointing at specific people, and people are selectively outraged because of that. I think we have a huge problem with media literacy, and a lot of that is because of how PR firms can manipulate things. I'm not happy about that. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is a special and unique kind of evil as if it isn't happening everywhere all the time. It's a huge problem, but I guess what I'm saying is like these people are not special. I'm sorry. Also, if somebody makes false accusations about me that could wreck my whole career, I already know that that person will stop at nothing to get what they want and will gladly ruin my life and reputation to do it. So if you're Justin Baldoni in that scenario, you have to think about not just your feelings, but your wife and children, and then some of your closest friends who are being dragged into this alongside of you. You don't look for the lawyer or the PR firm who you think is going to give you cuddles. You want someone who's going to fiercely defend you and your rights. Brian Friedman, who has obviously done business with Tag PR before in other cases like this Amanda Ghost Rebel Wilson one, is well known to go to war for the client. It doesn't matter if he's someone you would invite to Sunday Bible school or not. So ultimately, the issue with people trying to take the recording in the Ghost case and make it a victory lap for Blake Lively is that they're doing more of the same things that Lively's critics were already frustrated with. Blake is trying to align herself with people who have actually been through abuse or who have actually had their character unjustly attacked with false accusations. She actually did and said the thing she was being criticized for and appears to be attacking other people over that criticism rather than dealing with it herself. Her entire case makes her appear unsympathetic to a lot of people, even after everything that came out in Discovery. It seems like Blake Lively is just trying to paint herself as a face for victims who have suffered when she's actually just entitled and inconvenienced by having to work with people she looked down upon. And trying to align herself with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein by hiring Sigrid McCauley, that did not help. But since I saw that recording from the Ghost case going around, I wanted to touch on that today. That is all I've got for now, though. So thanks, guys, for watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the like button for me. That helps me out a lot. And I'll see you all soon. Bye.